Hi guys, and welcome back to SwitchUp. Now, I did say that I thought that the American sale would come about a week after ours, and yeah, it has done, so that's decent. What's not so decent is the fact that they've removed the two best games, Octopath Traveler and Dragon Quest XI, have both been removed from the Eshop sale. It's a bit odd, isn't it? Very strange. Now, there are some amazing games still, and to be honest, I'm a bit bored of talking about the first party titles, so I'm going to try and cover the best of the rest. All the first party info is in the other video, link in the description. What's worth picking up on this sale? Let's find out. The first game you're going to want to pick up on this US eShop sale is Katana Zero from Devolver Digital. You take control of an assassin who makes friends with a young girl, and if you've ever seen the film Leon, it's very similar in the relationship between the two. Between stages, you'll be visiting a psychologist whereby the story will be built upon. It's not the longest game ever, but it has some lovely mechanics, and the combat and rewind ability make each run feel unique. There are several different classes of enemy, and each of them will require a different method to dispatch. I really enjoyed this game. As usual, it's Devolver doing what they do best, and at over a third off, this is the time to pick it up. If you've watched the channel for more than 5 minutes, then you'll know that I absolutely love farming simulation games. Stardew Valley for me is the epitome of everything that this genre encapsulates. There's escapism here, there's a bit of cooperation, you can join a friend through 2 different consoles and play together, but there's also a lot of adventuring, and just that feeling that you can sit and relax while you're playing, for me, is priceless. There's a ton of extra content to do here, and they're always adding to the game. At around about $8 or $9, this really is the time to pick the game up if you've so far avoided it. There are other greats in the genre like Graveyard Keeper if you want a slightly darker twist. A big thanks to Wondershare for sponsoring this video. They created a really useful little piece of software. Now, if you've not heard of Wondershare, it's actually the same software company that create Mortar that Glen and I use for every single video you've ever watched on this channel. But they also create a video repair software. It essentially allows you to take a corrupted piece of footage, drag and drop it in, and it will fix it up. If you've ever created any of your own YouTube content, or you're just a bit of an amateur filmmaker, you'll know that the slightest piece of corruption can very often throw out your software, and I've experienced it myself many times. If you saw our Atelier review on this channel, if you go back and have a look at it, you'll see that we actually only had a very limited amount of footage because all of it corrupted. Now, if I'd have known that this software existed, my goodness, my life would have been a lot easier, and I wouldn't have been up all night long just destroying myself. You can try it out for free, but you can also buy the full version for around about £50 or $50. It's not overly expensive, and you can also pay monthly if you'd prefer. As you can see on the screen, it's quite simple. Drag and drop the file in and it will spit it out, and you just export it to wherever you want. A big thanks to these guys for sponsoring the video. All the links to it will be down in the description. Okay, so next is the well-known Celeste. If we haven't heard about this one already, then, well, you've been hiding under a rock or something. At the moment, it's got a decent discount on it, but if you're not sure what it's about, well, Celeste is the name of the mountain, and you play as a girl who's ascending the mountain and trying to overcome many of her own demons as she does just that. The platforming is brutally hard, and they've also included the B-side stages, which are, well, they're even harder if I'm honest. It's a very enjoyable game, but it is one that's going to punish you, so do know that before you make the purchase. I would say it's an essential title to own, but perhaps not everyone would agree with me. Let me know down in the comments what you think of this one. Next up was the pick of many players over this last year as one of their top indies. It's Children of Mortar, and you take control of the Bergson family. What's interesting about this is it plays out a little bit like an old school Diablo title. Picture Diablo 2, except that you control the character directly rather than clicking the mouse where you want them to go. They each have their own unique skills. Some of them are long range, some of them are close up, and there are unique abilities to gradually unlock. I always like to see the ability to play co-op with a friend, and for me, sitting in with a few cold beers, trying to work your way through the different stages is what these types of games are all about. Really enjoyed this one.
In times of piercing loneliness, when your world falls apart, it is your family that holds it together.
Which takes us on to Hobb, the definitive edition from Runic Games. Now this is 30% off, which is a decent little price. When it launched, it had a few visual issues. It was quite blurry and there were some major performance issues at certain points. However, it has been smoothed out massively since launch. This is a lovely title where you play as a character who has almost a friend-like dog from the Half-Life games, if you ever played those. You work your way through several different puzzle platform sections, and you'll be delving under the surface of the earth and visiting the old machines. It's a really cool little title that has a good deal of escapism to it. Well worth a purchase at this price. Next up we have State of Mind from Daedalic Entertainment, which is currently a massive 70% off. For me, this is my pick of this list, and it's a cyberpunk futuristic adventure game. You play as a character who is involved in a car crash, and well, when he comes to, everything's slightly awry. It's really well voice acted, but there's also some nice gameplay sections that are a bit surprising, like piecing together the old memories in a 3D environment that feels like something that could exist in the future. I really enjoyed it overall, and having the dulcet tones of Geralt of Rivia as the main character was a nice touch.
They scan everything. Do you understand? Everything that bots, drones, cabs, and HoloLenses see and hear, sense and do. You can reconstruct anyone's life with all that information. You can create a whole simulated world.
On a completely different tack then, we have Hand of Fate 2. Now this is a deck building game that combines your deck building with a 3D combat mechanic, whereby the cards you choose will play a major part in your combat abilities. I watched Glen play this one and I was quite jealous that he got to review it, if I'm honest. He had a fantastic time with it, and it is a lot more depth here than meets the eye. It is quite a difficult title, and at the moment it's 50% off on the US eShop. There isn't a physical, which is a bit of a shame, but regardless, he more than recommends it as a game to pick up at this price. It's one of those games that you could so easily have missed with the flood of titles entering the eShop.
For mature.
Alright then, next up we've got Sniper Elite V3 from Rebellion. Now, no spoilers, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see number 4 at some point this year. For me, V3 was a superior title to the first one I reviewed on Switch, which was V2. Overall, the war felt much more open, and the co-op just works better in this type of environment. Working together with a friend to get those coordinated kills just was a great time. Glen and I spent a good deal of time on this one, and the gyro motion controls meant that getting those precise headshots wasn't a complete pain. At this price, 50% off, well, that's well worth a pickup. What Remains of Edith Finch has won loads of awards for its excellent storytelling. Now, I reviewed this and I didn't rate it as highly as everyone else in the world seems to have done, but I have since gone back and played through a second time, and it is a game I enjoy a lot. It's incredibly clever, the way the different tales are told, and you never really know whether things have been exaggerated, whether they're entirely truthful or not, but you care about these characters. I did really find it clever the way they juxtaposed some of the storytelling with random activities like you just saw with the fish cutting, and also it suddenly becomes really harrowing at times and is quite brutal. Overall, I enjoyed the game, but this would now be the time to pick it up. I wouldn't buy this one at full price.
After how we left, I never thought I'd come back.
One of the best things about making these YouTube videos is pulling out games that potentially get overlooked by everyone else. And the final game I'm going to talk about is one called Away. Now, this is essentially almost like, how would you describe it? Like an anime RPG first-person shooter, where your main weapon is a stick, and, well, there's a bit of procedural generation here as well, but the overworld area is not procedurally generated. There are quests to do. It's a very strange and unique title, but there's an incredible amount of polish here and everything works well. I really enjoy this game. I can't really recommend it highly enough, particularly when it's reduced to such a reasonable price. It might not be one that you potentially considered before, but let me just say that it is worth your time. That's it for this list. Let me know down in the comments any that you are going to pick up, or maybe you've added some to your wish list. If you enjoyed the content, then consider joining us, and a big thanks to our patrons who support us every single month. Remember, we do give away free games all the time, and keep your eye on those community posts as we'll be announcing the winner of our Wild West giveaway. For all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!